language, the culture. So now let's have our lesson for today.
And you can chime in with questions to keep the flow going.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Mary Alice Victorian Jackson. I am a relative of Trudy. Trudy's grandmother and my mother were first cousins, and that's how we are related. But anyway, I grew up on the island side of Falls River in Poincapie Parish, and we are deeply embedded in the Creole tradition, the rich culture, Creole culture, the language. I am a fluent Creole speaker. Both my mother and my father spoke Creole. And as I said, I grew up on the island side of Falls River in a tiny 3-room cottage. We call it a shotgun house, or shogun as they call it, S-H-O-W, shogun, but it somewhat translated to shotgun after a while. And this is a straight house with 2 front rooms and a kitchen. And we were 9 children altogether. I had 7 brothers, and we are 2 girls. I have 6 brothers that are now living. 1 is deceased. We're very, very close-knit family, as most of the people of the Creole culture. And after a while, as I said, we had 3 rooms, but after a while, we built another little room to accommodate my sister, because all of the boys slept on the floor.
You're kidding, really?
And my mother and father slept in the bed in the front room, as we call it, the front room. And my sister had a little cot in the room, in the second room. And as she got older, they built another little room for her, and then I took her cot. So I elevated to a cot. And after she went off to college, I elevated to her bedroom. And so one of the fuzziest memories of living on the island that I can remember, the room where I slept, the little side room as I call it, was very, very cold. We had a fireplace in the house that was for our warmth. And it was a double fireplace, one that lit on in both rooms. So it's a double fireplace, one side warm, the front room, the other side warm.
Really? I've never seen anything like that.
And my mother would take a blanket, bless her heart. She would take a blanket and warm it by the fireplace. And she would tell me, go hurry up and jump in the bed. And I'd go in the bed, and she'd take that warm black blanket and wrap it around me to keep me warm, because the room had no fire in itself, no heater on the fire. So this is how she kept me warm.
And you were comfortable?
Very comfortable. Very comfortable. Seems like that warmth just put me to sleep, and after that,
and now
when I woke up, it was morning.
Without Central, right? Oh, yeah, now we can't even much do without that.
Push button, press button, and it is totally different. And of course, all during the night, I could hear her getting up to check on my brothers to make sure they were covered.
My goodness.
And after my 2 or 3 older brothers left to go to work, a couple of the younger ones slept in the bed. And still 2 or 3 of them slept on the floor, because there wasn't but one large bed in that room. And in some cases, all of them were piling up in the bed at the same time in the winter months.
They never have fights like to say, no, it's your turn to sleep on the floor.
Absolutely. No. And this is why I said we're very, very close, because we shared so much. We shared with each other. We helped each other out. And then when Mama would go to take care of the business in town, she would leave my older sister in charge. And we had better listen to her.
Really?
Because if we didn't, then we would have to say we would get a whooping. Not a whipping or a spanking, but a whooping. And that's what we call it in Creole, W-H-U-P-P-I-N-G, a whooping. Because the older sister was like the mother, and even today.
But she was strict. She wasn't too strict, huh?
Who, my mother?
No, your sister.
She was pretty stern on her. She was like a mother.
But she was like a mother to us. Nice.
She is, but she didn't want us to. She wanted us to obey her, and she She would be in charge, as I said. And if we did anything that we weren't supposed to do, of course we didn't do that much. It might have been like taking something out of the cookie jar without permission or something like that, or the sweetbread pain, as we call it. My mother used to make sweetbread that we call mash pain doux. Sweetbread, mash pain doux.
So what's that, like cornbread or like
it's
cake?
Just a plain cake with no icing. And she would make that from scratch. So, you know, sometimes we would get our envie for it, but we wanted a piece of sweet, and we would go and kind of take a little piece.
Oh my goodness!
And
can you make that sweet bread from scratch?
I can make that sweet bread from scratch.
Well, praise the Lord.
It has been a long time, and I'm not sure if I knew how to make it. Let me put it that way. But I don't know that I remember all the steps and everything. But I don't know how successful it would come out if I were to make it today, because
that should be the challenge for 2016, and then we'll see on tape what happens, and let me sample.
We'll see. But many of the Creole traditions, many of them are going by the wayside, and because we made everything. We made toys, we made clothes. My mother made all our clothes. And she would take a rice sack or a flour sack, because they sold cotton and rice in large 25-pound bags made out of cloth sacks. And she would take those sacks loose and sew them together, and she would make little sleeping gowns for my brothers, and little shirts and what have you. And everything. We made all of our toys. We made slingshots. We made pop guns.
People don't do that anymore.
No, everything.
I mean, those toys, even factory made, they don't make
now.
those
everything is computer games. So the era really has changed.
Oh, like tops. I don't even
know. And then we had a season for all of that. We had a season where we took the string on the top and spin the top. We had a hula hoop season. We used to have hula hoop. We had a season where we played marbles. The boys would get in the yard in the winter months and make a big old ring in the yard and put all the marbles in the middle. And we had one big one that called a bowling ball.
What?
And it was made out of steel, and that's the one you used to shoot the marbles in the ring and see how many you could shoot out the ring. And who would be the winner. And we played horseshoe. We made our own games. Every Saturday night we would have what we call a picture show or a movie, but we used to call it a picture show, but a movie. We would take a sheet and put it in the doorway and put the light out in the room where we sat. But the room on the other side of the sheet, we left the light on, and the ones who were doing the show, they would get behind the sheet and do all kind of movements and hand movements and shadows, and we would watch the shadows as our movie. That was our movie.
Praise the Lord. So we didn't worry about rated X and all that stuff.
No, all we could see was the shadow of the person either dancing or making hand movements, or they would make designs with their hands, like a duck design or a dog design with their hands. And we would
creativity.
Watch. That was our Saturday night movie at the house. The last four of us. And then sometimes my third to the oldest brother, he had a bingo game, and he would go to the store and buy little cakes and candy and stuff. And he would play bingo with us on Saturday night. And our prize was either moon cake, which was the big round Jack cookies.
They're so small now.
And they're so small. And we would get a cookie or a candy or whatever. And so that was kind of pretty much of our entertainment. And when it was real cold, we would all sit by the fireplace, and my mother would share stories with us of her childhood and of things that happened in the neighborhood. She would just share a lot of stories. There's a lot of storytelling going on. And so that was part of our entertainment.
Wow. And what about the spiritual aspect?
The spiritual aspect, naturally. First of all, every first Friday, we had to go to confession.
Praise the Lord.
And go to Holy Communion that Sunday. But every first Friday, we had to go to confession. Every night after we ate our supper, which was about 7 o'clock, 7:30. We all had to kneel down around Mother. She would sit in a chair, and we knelt down around her and prayed the family rosary every night after
Praise
supper.
you, Jesus.
And then she would make us kneel down by her knees when we were old enough to say our prayers. And we had to say our prayers aloud until we got to be about 8 or 9 years old. And once you got to be about 8 or 9 years old and she felt that you knew all of your prayers, then you could start saying them silently. But you had an age where you had to say them out aloud around your mother's knees. And every Sunday we went to church. All of us went to the same mass. At that time I think it was a 7 o'clock mass or 8 o'clock mass. I think it was 8 when I was little. We went to church. Of course, I attended. The last 4 of us attended a Catholic school, because at the time my older siblings were going to school. I think the last 7. The 7 of us attended the Catholic school. My sister and my older brother, and my second to the older brother, they went to the church schools. There were little halls where they would have school in the church halls, in the halls. And eventually in 51, or 51, I think, St. Augustine, or 49, 50. St. Augustine was built as a school in the early 50s, as a matter of fact. And my sister attended until after that she started attending. And when she got to the 8th grade, there was no high school in the area for African Americans. They had to go to Baton Rouge to McKinley High or another, other schools that if they had a relative that lived in Baton Rouge, then they stayed with that relative. But to show you the importance of education, how the older people really valued education, they would make sacrifices to pay somebody out of the money that they didn't have to send their children to school to Baton Rouge to live with a relative, and they would attend McKinley High School. But the year that my sister, and of course Nora was in that same class, Nora Senamore, your aunt, the year that they were to attend school out of the parish, New Rose High School was built, and they were the first class. She was one of the first 14 that graduated from New Rose High School in 1952. Nora was a part of that class, and we were counting last night. I think there are 5 with Nora now, who's deceased. So 5 out of 14. That's not bad for the length of time that they've been living on this earth.
Yeah.
And also we had the nuns came in the early 50s to teach, the Sisters of the Holy Ghost. We used to call them, and now they're called Sisters of the Holy Spirit. And they gave us an education that was second to none.
Because most of y'all got educational degrees.
Most of us got our education from the Catholic school at that time, elementary school, and then we went on to finish high school. And out of the 9 of us, 3 of us finished college, But my mother afforded the chance to everybody that wanted to go. She gave them an opportunity to go. I have 2 brothers that went to the military. One of them stayed 20-some years. He retired Air Force Master Sergeant. And my baby brother, as I was telling you, played baseball for Southern University, and he ended up being an international accountant. So with the very limited resources that we had, our parents made